Well, it seems I may have inadvertently started a holy war. I'm referring, of course, to the comments back and forth between William Tyndale and Matthew 4:19 on my latest couple of videos regarding the creation of moral evil. And it's kind of interesting to watch. I did want to respond to a couple of the comments left by William Tyndale, Mere Christian Logos, but quite frankly, they're way too long. I would love to have the time to do that. As it is, I've been making videos on my lunch break. I should actually be losing weight because I've been making videos instead of eating. In any case, I can't respond to the entirety of the comments left by William Tyndale, and regrettably so, because I think they deserve a response. There are a couple of points, though, that I wanted to address here today, and we'll see where it goes. So one of the things, and he's already addressed this, so I'm not saying this as a barb against William Tyndale, but at some points he was sort of making some vague references to the silence to certain comments as indicative that there was no response. The silence on my end was indicative of the fact that I was in the shop turning wrenches, and I can't always engage in the comments feed. And so, again, regrettably so, because I would like to. But I just want to make the point, just for anybody out there who might wonder, I'm not really afraid of talking about any topic. So if you see silence on my part, it's because I'm just doing what I got to do. The reason I'm not afraid to discuss any topic is because I have no problem saying, I don't know, if that truly is the case. Or, let me think about that and I'll get back to you, or whatever. I'm not afraid of saying I don't know, even about the big questions. So if I'm not afraid to say I don't know, then I'm not really going to be afraid of addressing any particular subject. The other thing that I wanted to address is, I had mentioned in my last couple of videos about the disagreement between Christians as being somewhat of an impediment towards them convincing someone like myself that their theology is accurate and is something that represents reality and is something that I should take into consideration, that I should ultimately change my entire lifestyle to encompass. And in the comments section between William Tyndale and Matthew 4:19, they both sort of alluded to the fact that they are having this disagreement, and that gives atheists an out for their disbelief. I felt like this was rather dismissive, and I feel like it was a little bit uncharitable to say. It painted the picture to me as though it's somebody who's already reached a certain conclusion and it's a confirmation bias type of a thing. We're just looking for things that further confirm the conclusion. Now, that's not to say that some introspection isn't necessary on my part, on other people's part, when it comes to those sorts of things. But I think that was a little uncharitable and dismissive to say, well, if you're bringing up the fact that we have all this disagreement, not just between two Christians, but between thousands upon thousands upon thousands, that this is just a way to dismiss the theology even further. It's an out for you. And this is one of those instances where I really wish I could do, the old putting my head on your shoulders so that you could see it from my point of view, because it's just simply not the case. And if you were being confronted or approached in any other instance of your life with a proposal, but there was no consensus amongst all the different people making the same proposal, and they all claimed the only correct proposal, and they all claimed that the other guys are going to lead you to serious problems with their proposal, but yet they're all claiming the proposal is perfect. Hopefully you get my point. My only point being that I actually do think that some introspection is necessary or due, sort of a due diligence on the part of an atheist to make sure that that's not the case. But I think it's a little dismissive to say, oh, you're just using that as an excuse, you're using that as an out. No, you're failing to recognize that this is a real problem for you and your theology, at least if you're going to expect other people to take you seriously and adopt your religion. Now, another comment left by William Tyndale, sort of in the sea of text, left me wondering a little bit if I've made a mistake in engaging. I don't think so, I'm just kidding. But it was another comment that really kind of irked me a little bit, and I just wanted to point this out. He timestamps my video at 17 minutes 40 seconds. Not being convinced is a way to make rejecting one's creator and the only possible savior seem palatable. I reject this. We have a conscience inside of us positively crying out that we are sinners against God, and we see the need for salvation. Who's we? Do you have a mouse in your pocket? We have an existence absolutely devoid of any real meaning or purpose, and an internal being within us absolutely crying out that there must be more to this life. Well, even if that's the case, first of all, I don't see having an existence devoid of any meaning. I have plenty of meaning in my life. And even if there is a part of you that's crying out that there must be more, that doesn't necessarily follow then that your particular theology is the more, right? There's not a case being made there as far as I'm concerned. And to not be convinced sounds admirable until you strip it down to its brass tacks and see it as just a stubborn, rebellious child refusing to obey its parents by not playing in the street. And one day soon, little Jimmy runs out on the road and gets hit by a truck. And it was his parents' fault for not convincing him better or putting a shock collar on him or chaining him to the bed. I don't buy it. That was his. I don't buy it. Well, I don't buy it either. So, once again, I have to say, William Tyndale, I find that highly uncharitable to be that dismissive of someone saying that they remain unconvinced as a rebellious young child who's, in need of a shock collar to keep him from running out in the streets. And I'm not sure who the parents are. Are you the parents here warning little Jimmy? I'm not sure what to say. Again, I need to be able to do this. I wish you could understand from my point of view. And I guess here's the thing. The fact that you're not willing to, I understand this is your belief system. I understand this is your theology. But the fact that you're not willing to connect on that human level and give some respect for what other people are telling you is inside themselves, I think is an impediment to the discourse. This would be akin to when you say something along the lines of, that you have a relationship with God or something like that. And me just rejecting that out of hand and making a bunch of statements about, you believe in an old fairy tale that involves a bunch of, was written by a bunch of desert goat humpers, right? You'll note that you've never heard that come from me. I don't talk like that. Regardless of how I feel about your theology, whether or not I believe it's true and accurate, I feel like I give you a little bit more courtesy than that, a little bit more charity than that, than to liken you to some sort of rebellious child who's throwing a temper tantrum, running out into the street, getting hit by a truck. Because you have to keep in mind also, you've not been able to demonstrate any of that. When we talk about evil, ultimately end up talking about Satan. And a lot of people will talk about Satan, they'll talk about demons and demon possession, they'll talk about hell, you're going to hell, have yet to demonstrate that any of this actually exists. But I'm the rebellious child because I remain unconvinced. I've heard the arguments from Cy ten Bruggencate. I don't give evidence to unbelievers because where do we give evidence? In a court of law. And who do we give evidence to? We give it to a judge. That would make you the judge over God. Well, in my world, I actually am the judge over what I am convinced by. However, obviously, that's a ridiculous analogy anyway. A court of law to a judge is not the only place that we use evidence. It's probably one of the least places on this planet that we use evidence. We all use evidence every day, all day long. My job is all about evidence. So it's not about being a judge over anything, but in many ways, I am the ultimate judge over what I'm convinced by. And in many ways, it's subconsciously. It's not that I don't necessarily sit down with a pro and con list and draft it all out and come to a conclusion, we have 98 points on the pro column, 2 points on the con column. I guess I know where we're going. It's generally more of an internal process than that. But I really feel like that was a very dismissive thing to say. And most of your comments have actually been pretty good. I've really enjoyed. Sometimes I have to read your paragraphs 2 or 3 times, which makes these long posts much more difficult to get through before I can understand them, but I've enjoyed them. And maybe it's, I don't know, I'm not sure why you would post something like that unless it's sort of you've gotten into the flow in the little holy war that's going on right now. But I would ask you to think a little bit about that. And I understand that you get a lot of harsh talk from a lot of atheists. I would just hope that you'd understand that I'm trying very, very hard not to do that, not to be that uncharitable to your side of the fence. And I got to say, that was really demeaning, actually, the way that you framed that. So, food for thought. Speaking of food, I better get some and get my ass back to work. Thanks, everyone, as always, for watching. Oh, and one more thing. I don't know how I missed this. I was just about to upload this video and I realized I missed something entirely. The analogy given by William Tyndale of the child running out into the street is completely flawed, because it absolutely is the responsibility of the parents to make sure that little Jimmy doesn't run out into the street and get hit by a car. That's their job. Why? Well, they may not be omniscient, but they do know a lot better than little Jimmy about the potential consequences. Does he require a shock collar? Does he require being chained to the bed? And by the way, that's not what atheists are asking for here. We are not asking to be restrained some way or to have our free will taken away or to be shocked into reality. We're asking for a little empirical evidence, perhaps some clear and obvious choices would be very nice. But there are, of course, many other ways to make sure that little Jimmy is protected. As a parent myself, I was a bit of a scaredy cat dad. I very much looked to protect my daughter from all manner of dangers. And the couple of times where I felt I had slipped in that department, I had a great amount of emotion over the notion that I might have let her down somehow, because it absolutely was my responsibility to protect her from the things that she was not capable of protecting herself from. So in a way, that analogy is actually quite fitting, just not in the way that William Tyndale intended it, I think. Thanks again, as always, for watching.